Hola. Welcome to episode 46 of Word to Your Mama. And welcome, if you're listening to this on September 30th, then it's International Podcasting Day. That is why we release this episode later in the week. We usually do it every Monday, but we did it on the day to celebrate International Podcasting Day. Also, it's the final day of the month, so we're wrapping up our 1-year anniversary month. That is correct. Since September last year, in the thick of the pandemic, we started this, and we're still here. Today's guest is Rakaa Taylor. He is the Supernatural Bear's Papa Bear, and he happens to be my husband. Ugh. I hate that word. I hate saying it. So let's say he's my partner. That kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit better, a little easier, if you will. This special episode has been in the works for a long time. He agreed to do it because it's his son, the Supernatural Bear, and we're here. It finally went down. And let me just say that to prep for this, we had to drink a little bit of whiskey. We had to try to get a little loosey-goosey. And maybe some parts were a little too loosey-goosey and it got a little real. But you know what? I'm all about rough, rugged, and raw. And I did not edit it out. It's in there, folks. It is in there. So have fun listening to Rakaa Taylor. He is part of 1/3 of Dilated Peoples. If you're not knowing, it's a hip-hop group that's from LA. Been around for a long time. 2020 was their 20th year anniversary for their first album. And he's a man of many things. He's a creative. He was a prodigy when he was young. I mean, child prodigy. Started reading at a really young age. I mean, he's very intelligent. I mean, I'm just not rolling with just anybody, folks. And this is a little bit of a different interview because he goes on, shows or any type of interview on print or whatever, what have you. And it's always about music and da-da-da-da. We touch upon those things, but the questions get a little personal, and we're trying to change it up. And you could hear, I wish you could see it, but you could hear the tone that he's maybe not the most excited about it. But he's a good sport. I'm glad he did it. After our convo, you definitely have to stay tuned for the Supernatural Bear Corner, where the Supernatural Bear gets to interview his Papa Bear with 2 questions, 2 very important questions. And you can tell the difference, folks, if you listen to him and I speaking and our convo, me having to ask him questions. And then you hear his conversation with the Supernatural Bear. Oh, it's a whole another vibe. But thank you so much for everyone who submitted questions. We asked on IG stories. I asked personally, and everyone came through. I wasn't able to get to all of them, and I wasn't able to ask all of them because I just see in his face. I was like, oh, yeah, no, we're not going to ask that other one. But thank you so much. I appreciate it, and let's get into it.
Yep.
All right, let me take another drink. Up in here. Cheers.
Cheers.
You can drink on, doesn't matter.
Oh, I always drink during interviews when I want to drink during interviews. I'm not ashamed.
Oh my goodness. Rakaa, is it?
That's good enough. I'll know it in a crowded room. It's fine.
Rakaa. First and foremost, how are you doing? How have you been during these pandemic times?
Great. Crazy times. But we lived a crazy life, so it's just a wild chapter.
And do you see it's ending anytime soon?
Uh, mm, I don't know if there's gonna be an end to something like this. I mean, I think that there's gonna definitely be adjustments and stability. People are gonna find like their footing, but I don't think there's gonna be an end. I think it's like a yeah, it's yeah. I don't see an end to it.
All right. Well, also let me just start off by saying thank you for doing this. I know
Thank
your
you for having
son coerced you.
me. Congratulations on the year.
Gracias. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you for your
De
help
nada, de nada, de nada.
and your support.
Mm.
Let's get into, if someone were to meet you today on the street and I had no idea, never heard of Dilated, and they say, what do you do? How do you answer that?
Um, I usually just say that I'm in brand or creative. Like I do creative work. I try to stay as vague as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't particularly like engaging with people or people speaking to me. So,
The truth is out.
you know, as little as possible. Either they get bored or they pick up the hint and they just keep it pushing. That's best.
Oh, evidence is here. This is the evidence right here. I've been
Mm.
telling peeps,
Mm.
but there it is. You said it yourself.
No, it just depends on like the context, who's asking, what's going on at the time. But I've done enough things where I have enough interesting things to lead with, and I can kind of organize everything. I've always seen myself as somebody that does a lot of different things. So, well, I don't have to see that. I've always been someone that does a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So being able to describe myself for any setting is the same. But I mean, at different times, I'm more focused on different things. I'm just more of a creative, I guess, a general creative.
General creative. Yeah.
Uh,
So you've been, like, even back in the days, Dilated times, you've always been a creative, not just an MC. You've been a lot of different things because you guys started graph writers.
yeah, we started as graph writers. Ev and I met at a graffiti yard called Motor Yard in L.A. On the west side of L.A. And that kind of that was like kind of a constant theme, like, or at least like a sub theme throughout our career, because that's the world we kind of came up in. That's kind of the lens that we saw hip hop through more than anything, was hip hop through the eyes of graffiti artists. So, our perspective was a little bit different than coming in maybe as a rapper or as a dancer or as a DJ or anything else. Graffiti perspective is different. And we brought a lot of that with us, and plus we still chill with most of the same people that we knew back then. A lot of the same people that are in our respective crews or that were just in the scene are still people that, if we did go out or if we do go out, those are the people we see and we're still cool with. So, yeah.
Nice. Okay. So what do you think's changed, if anything, perspective, outlooks, anything since the pandemic for you? Because if people may or may not know, 2020 was the anniversary first album,
Right.
and you guys were going to tour. That wasn't going to happen. So how did that shift happen for you?
Um, I mean, it's a lot of moving parts. Obviously, there's a global pandemic. There's a global recession.
Mm.
Um, maybe depression.
Mm-hmm.
And on a personal level, everybody's lives are kind of turned upside down. For us, obviously being musicians, that was not at the top of the list of essential things to make happen, and it was also even looked at as like maybe even problematic. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity for people who weren't already in the digital space to make up that ground unless they could pivot quickly or if they had a base that could kind of follow with them. But it was kind of a crazy time. Um, there's a contract, there's a clause in most contracts. It's called force majeure, acts of God. It's like, if there's a crazy you know earthquake, or if there's a this or there's a that, or whatever, like just things beyond the norm, then the contract can be, if it's a natural disaster, things like that, or pandemic, like things like that they'll void the contract and not have to give up the deposits, because it's beyond the control of the promoter. It's something beyond business. So please believe that was a little tiny thing that's at the end of most contracts that most people just kind of glanced over really quick, that all of a sudden became probably one of the most important clauses
Yeah.
in contracts in business, in the entertainment business at least. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. But uh, I think it's different people feel it in different ways. I guess it's kind of a lot of it is a lot of how hard it hit is tied into how um, locked in you were with things on the day to day, like how much you kind of moved around and flowed with the natural flow of society on the day to day. For us, we've kind of colored outside the lines for a long time, so um, I don't feel it as often, but when I do feel it, it's pretty crazy to think about all the stuff that's been happening.
Got it. So, this is a very unique convo. I feel if I had to come up with stuff to talk about, people, when you do these interviews, you've been doing some during the pandemic, video, audio, it's the same things. Like, how'd you get started? Da 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 da. All the music stuff, but this one's gonna be a little different. And how
All
is it
right.
gonna be a little different? You might ask, Rakaa. We're gonna go immediately to the questions and comments from the audience.
All
Now,
right.
we may or may not get to all of them because a group of people had a grip of questions.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Uh, First one. Any artists or types of art you're currently into? The medium of those arts doesn't matter. This is from my godson, uh, former guest on Word to Your Mama, Mariano Sepulveda.
Hmm. Shout out to Mariano. Big up all the Dominican Massive and crew. Um, yeah, let me see. Who am I listening to? Well, what is her name? Cinta Vidal is like a painter that's really very cool. I might be pronouncing it wrong, but it almost reminds me of like a certain, almost like an Escher with like multiple, almost like an MC Escher type
Mm.
flow to it. To what goes on. I like that a lot. Man, I hate being put on the spot. Shout out to my nephew Nico Beats. Who else is really ill?
Nico Beats, who produced the intro to Word to Your Mama.
Yeah. Shout out to Nico Beats. Who else is nice? Um, I like. Let me see. There's some kids that are spitters, like AK the Pharaoh and Mad Squabbles. There are people like Misfit Soto out here, Annie Means. That's a lot of people. I don't know. I could start naming people. But yeah, it's a lot of talent, out these days. Um, but I don't really, I'm not really too locked in, to be honest. Like as far as like names and stuff are concerned, like I hear mixes and I hear certain people that I think have some nice flow and that they're doing it, the way that I like it done. And then there's other people that are doing different things, and I'm cool with that too.
Okay. Another question for Mariano is any words for the youths? For the youths.
The Utes. Yeah. It's in business's best interest to turn life into a popularity contest, and that only really works if you buy into that if you buy into that model. Um, take the time to really take life in, explore life, enjoy life. Don't let other people tell you where your ceiling is and where your walls are.
Mm.
Listen, be respectful, and understand that some people have wisdom to impart, and they can really give you some bars that could be very helpful. But don't just exist as wet clay for the purpose of being accepted. I'd probably say that's probably a better way to do
Yes.
it. Don't.
Words of wisdom, for sure. Okay. Speaking of our nephew, Nico Beats, he asks, how have your experiences of touring and traveling the world shaped your perspective, outlook on life? And what is one of the most important things you've learned from those experiences?
uh, I mean, just traveling, you're going to get a different perspective because you're around different cultures. You're down around different paces, different ways of doing things. So you get a chance to really see the common denominators, the similarities as well as the differences. When you travel, you turn on the TV or whatever, and you're watching the news, and you get a different perspective on some of the same events that you may have seen being discussed in the states differently. So, yeah, I mean, I think the more you travel, the more you realize it's a big world, and you start to understand how um, targeted advertising and messaging and media in general is, and how they can really make, especially in America, make make it a situation where you feel like it's the rest of the world is not at the same level or is in a different place, and everything revolves around you. So yeah, as you travel, you start to realize that it's a big world with plenty to offer, and the more open minded you are, the more you'll be able to get from it.
Let's go to another question.
Mm.
When COVID lets up more, do you plan to do any more international touring? And if so, do you have any plans on having your younger brother, the good looking buff one that wrote almost the best selling Pixie Poochie and the Pepidemic children's book series, link up with you in Europe, especially if you go to Amsterdam? But also if you go to Asia or pretty much anywhere overseas, including South America, which is it technically overseas because it is connected by the land known as Central America? And that is by your one of your younger brothers, Bib, who is also a guest here on Word to Your Mama.
uh, Big J, you mean?
Yes, Big J.
Woo. Yeah. Well, I was thinking next time I go out, I'm gonna need like a proper blend of someone that has nautical skills,
See.
um, that's buff,
Oh.
and that has a mind for numbers,
Ah.
mathematics, and accounting. So when that happens, yeah, I was trying to figure out who that person was, but then as you just wrote in with that and sent that question in, it occurred to me that it could be you. So work on your passport. We might be headed to Amsterdam or Asia or other places across these, including South America, which isn't across seas because it's connected by Central America.
Perfecto. And one last question from Big J. Staying competitive in these dynamic times means having the right technology at work for your small or medium sized business. Whether your goal is to grow, downsize, or modernize, Panoply BPO provides the right combination of tools, support, and affordability necessary to make it a reality. Visit panoplybpo.com. That's PANOPLYBPO.com to schedule your no obligation consultation today. Mention WTYM and get your 13th month of service for free. PanoplyBPO.com. There is a better way. Uh, how come Buddy never had to stay up and do homework with us?
You know, that's a great question. That is actually a great question because we sure did have to stay up and do a lot of homework. We might have to interview someone else about that. The person who was making us do the homework at the time. Um,
Yes.
Shout out to Anni.
Shout out.
And we'll figure that out. But that's a great question. As I think about it, that's a great question.
Nothing but love, brotherly love. Okay, next one's by someone else. It says, I think this is a comment first. One thing I love and appreciate about the way Rocker raps is that he always opens up to the listener to think deeper, opens up the listener, excuse me, to think deeper about themselves, society, and humanity. If he hadn't heard it before, he should know that he has had a positive impact on the world and has caused change. Thank you for being a soldier of good in the world. And his question is, what is your earliest childhood memory of when you fell in love with music? This is from Dave Dice Gilmore, also a previous guest on Word to Your Mama.
Dice. That's a cool cat, man. What's up, Dave? My earliest well, it's hard. I'm a preacher's kid, so I was raised in church. So music was like always there. It was just like a part of what it was. But maybe hearing. I remember hearing it was around the same time. It was two record. It was a it was a Jackson 5 greatest hits compilation. I was like a little kid, and I remember listening to it one day on the way to school, and just being like in awe of the layers and the harmonies and the structure and everything else. And I only heard like a few songs on the way, but then I ended up seeing the record at a friend's house later and listening, like a couple years later, and like listening to the whole thing and catching that same feeling again. And then maybe also like around like the 6th grade or something. I don't know why, but it was this Def Leppard Pyromania record.
Yes.
Pyromania from Def Leppard. I mean, there's like Jay Giles Band and all this. There are all these records that were happening at the time. There was a radio station called Mighty 690 that we would listen to.
690.
So but at the time, we were listening to like Motown, and then we would listen to Hall and Oates and reggae music and classic Beatles. There was all kind of stuff going on at the house. So there wasn't just one type of music. And then we were, like I said, a church family too, so there was always gospel music and like jam sessions. There were pianos and jam sessions and stuff at the house. So it was kind of a musical household. So I don't remember the exact moment, but I do remember that was the first album, like the first time I sat there and listened to something and started analyzing it for something more than just like, oh, it's music. Like I remember hearing something and thinking like, oh, there's something special. I mean, it probably helped that it was a Jackson's 5 greatest hits album, so there was no misses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But still, yeah.
Nice. Okay, this question comes from another brother, younger brother. Describe God. This is from Ramses. Shout out to Ramses.
Describe God. I knew Ramses was gonna come with something like this. I don't know. I mean, I think like even the concept of description is smaller than what I would consider God to be. So, but if I had to describe God, it would be beginning and potential.
Oh.
See, that guy must not. He didn't like that already. We already should have. All right, my bad. I'm sure.
Like,
okay.
Start again.
Yeah. It's like beginning, huh? No. I would say it's just like God is 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 pure is pure potential for
Mm.
life, for greatness, for expansion, and um, I think that energy, that essence, is the thing that curses through everything courses through everything that's alive.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean that's I would say if I had to try to find some words, I mean without being um, trying to get academic about it, I guess. I mean it would be just like pure energy and potential and opportunity um, to maintain that in a positive track.
Okay. There it is, Ramses. Okay, next one. Quick rundown of your home studio. This is by DJ Kingpin, aka B. Brian Hill.
Home studio rundown, huh? Let's see here. What kind of mic do we have here?
I forget the name of it. I don't have it at the ready.
Yeah, expensive microphone. What is it? AKG, I think. No, I don't
Yeah,
know what it
something
is.
like that. And then you have it hooked up to the Focusrite
Yeah, there's a
Scarlett.
focus, right? Scarlet. Yep, there it is.
Yep.
And then some expensive cables and some sound deadening pillows.
Some
Uh,
jackets, if you
some
will.
jackets, t-shirts packed in nicely, and what else is in there? Dining room chair, maybe a dining room chair.
At the present, yes, a dining room chair because the
Yeah,
little
dining room
man
chair.
uses the ergonomically correct office chair for school.
There it is.
Okay.
Shout out to DJ Kingpin.
Yes. Next one. How did you two meet? And was there an instant attraction from the get go? This is from Now Jerome, also
Oh,
past guest.
hey, now, Jerome.
The faces. The faces.
uh, I don't. I think Dave.
Who's to say?
Dave, maybe. I think Dave. Shout out to Dave. I'm gonna give Dave the glory. Yeah, there it is.
You guys can see his face. Hilarious. Okay, next one. I think you might enjoy this one a little bit more. What is
All
the
right.
most annoying thing about Ritzy? And this is by Kano, the mild mannered hooligan.
Oh man. She's loud.
Woo!
Um,
Who's loud?
she uh doesn't always know what she said until after she hears herself say it along
What
with
are
everyone
you
else.
saying?
Let me
Propaganda.
see. Um, uh, extraordinarily moody. Uh,
The moans.
that's
It's the
that's
moans.
probably yeah, that's all they got right now. Shout out to
Ooh.
Kano. Shout out to Kano though.
Kano. We're gonna need a little bit more of this.
Why don't you and Kano have a show? I think you and Kano need to have a show.
Okay, you heard that, Kano? Let's do it.
Maybe Kato is cool. Maybe he's found he's like I'm good where I'm at. Like we talk every so often. We might record like we don't need to really take it to that
Maybe.
next level and commit to like actual time and. Oh yeah, you're hard to work with. That's the other thing. So maybe
What?
yeah. I mean we know you do good work. You do great work, but you're difficult to work with.
Oh shit! I think. Did you already finish your green
No,
spot?
I'm
Your
still
green
sipping.
circle?
I'm still
Woo!
sipping.
Whoa. Okay. Okay. Another question by the audience.
All right.
What is your greatest wish for the supernatural bear? And if you could protect him from one thing, what would that one thing be? And that is from his auntie Dalen.
Mm. My greatest wish for him would be that he's actually happy and safe. I mean, beyond that, I mean, there's so many ways I could go, but I try not to project, um, architecture or whatever onto him. Like that's not. I mean, I don't know. I just want him to be happy and be healthy and safe, be a good person. So I mean, he's already on his way to. He's already that, and he's on his way to even uh, being a happier, healthier person who is going to even contribute more. So that seems to be. I think we're on the right track. Um, I don't know if he could get healthier than like a healthier like eight. He's pretty. That's pretty much as good as it gets, though. I think. Anyway, and what was the other question?
If you could protect him from one thing, what would that be?
If I could protect him from one thing, I mean, besides the obvious, which is like physical harm,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, if I had to, I don't know, maybe any kind of feeling of inadequacy or inferiority that
Mm.
I think a lot of times that's what leads to a lot of the other problems, a lot of the other issues and things. I mean, and a lot of times that's caused or by something that maybe may seem relatively small, and people are going through crazy things, and not even people don't even realize that something small really to them was really something big to somebody else. So yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably it. I mean, obviously, like I said, they're the obvious things. I would love for him to not deal with racism. I would love for him to
Yeah.
not deal with whatever, but any kind of intolerance. I would love for him to not. It would be I definitely don't want him to be harmed in any way. Car accident. I mean, the list of
Yeah.
things that could happen is so long that I don't even want to think about it. But I just yeah, I would say like besides the obvious things, it would just be like I would want to protect him from any kind of opening that would actually lead him to like a true self doubt or like a true lack of self appreciation or self love.
Okay. Follow up question to that is, do you feel a heightened sense of responsibility as a father of color?
I don't. Maybe I don't know. I guess to a certain. I mean, as a person of color, I do. So that kind of becomes a part of uh, how I live my life. Understanding, obviously, if I'm a person of color, then my son is also a person of color. So, um, and even if he wasn't, I would still have an understanding that exists in the world. But the fact that he is, I mean, there are people that are going to not like him for what he looks like. They're gonna be people that only like him because of what he looks like. There's it can never so yeah. I mean, I'm definitely aware of extra dynamics as a person of color, and that's as a man of color, as a father of color, or whatever it is. That's just part of life. So
Okay. Well, that concludes the questions and comments from the audience. Now let's get into the not so rapid fire questions, the AKA slow as hell questions.
oh, all right, okay.
3 words to describe yourself, Rucka.
um,
Thrilled, so thrilled.
three three words to describe myself. Uh, Resilient. Um, mm, Creative. Mm,
Bossy?
um, Irritable.
Yes. Grumpy lumps for sure. I concur. Next one. What's the best advice you've received?
Things are usually not as good or as bad as they seem.
Okay. For you, these are rapid fire questions. The next one, song to get you hyped when you need it.
Uh,
There are none.
uh, uh,
You're the most non-music listening person in the music industry that I know. But you know what? I guess a lot of people actually that are musicians, not all, but a lot, don't tend to listen to a lot of other music.
I don't know. Maybe With the Quickness from Bad Brains or Annie Up from MOP. That's always a good one.
That's on the list. That is, we just announced today that the Word to Your Mama podcast guest playlist of hype songs is available on Spotify. We have a year's worth. And that is always, that's like top song from everyone that we've had for the year. Anti Up, MOP.
Anything from like, I mean, Killer Man, Cypress Hill, Jump Around, Public, Rebel Without a Countdown to Armageddon. I mean, there's so many there's so many songs. But I would say yeah, Annie Up will definitely do it.
It makes you want to kidnap somebody.
Yeah,
Kidnap
yeah,
that fool.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, yap want to yap him.
And the final question, Rakaa Taylor,
Mm,
Grumpy Lumps.
mm,
What what will be your legacy?
mm. I don't. I mean, is it for me to say what my legacy is?
Yeah, like what would you want your legacy to be? What do you want to leave behind?
Mm, I don't know. A better world and a couple of libraries, maybe a museum. I don't know. No. I would say that it would be somebody that um became motivation and in some cases a soundtrack for a lot of people who are really focused on making positive change in the world. Um, to be able to have inspired somebody that has their hand on the controls of something that can impact society in a big way, or just understanding that, much like all the stories about going back in time and anything you do can affect, any little thing can make a big uh, impact on the future. I think that's true right now. We're living in the time right now where any little thing can make an impact in the future. So it's not just about, finding somebody who's already um, doing crazy things and just having them say, yeah, they like a record. But, maybe somebody that's coming up and they hear something that inspires them to keep pushing through or to look at something from a different perspective. I think that, as far as the music I've made, I think that would be what it is. And someone that helped build bridges, connect dots. Um, and also somebody that really appreciates the opportunity that I really appreciate the opportunity that I've been given, and I think that comes across in the music that we've made, in the shows that we've done, and it was always a desire to really nurture the roots while stretching out and stretching the branches as far as we could push them, but really respecting the roots of the culture. And I think that we were able to do that in a way that kept it fresh, and being a cutting edge traditionalist. So if I had to kind of wrap it all up, it would just be creatively like cutting edge traditionalism, and personally just somebody that helped open people's minds and let them know that it was okay for their minds to be open.
Okay, there it is, folks. Rakaa Taylor, muchísimas gracias for doing this um, almost against your will. I
You don't
know
feel
this.
the excitement, the exuberance? What do you mean? What are you talking?
I know this went down because the supernatural bear asked and asked and
Mm,
asked. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you closing out our 1 year anniversary month, and that this is being released on International Podcast Day.
all right. Celebrating you and celebrating podcasts around the world.
Gracias.
Mm.
Any final words for the folks?
I would like to thank everybody for asking personal questions. And I would like to thank you for then transmitting those personal questions for everyone to hear.
Oh, there was more. Please believe it. I
and
edited down for your sake. There was more, way more than that.
Woo. Yeah. Yeah,
That's it.
that's about it. I feel like we need to end this in an exciting way. Like I feel like we need to pop on the thing, poo, like we need to do something because it's like
You want me to add it in post right here, right now, at this part right here? I
yeah.
can do
Okay, we're
that.
here. Okay, 1, 2,
2,
3.
3.
Now how come? Why is it when I said 1, 2, 3? Then you came in afterwards and just said 2, 3. How is it gonna be 1, 2, 3, 2, 3? That's not even out. See, that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong. That's
And now introducing
The Supernatural Bear Corner. Supernatural Bear. Yo everyone, I'm the Supernatural Bear, and I am here with a special guest, aka my dad.
what up.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't know, this guy right here, the guy, my dad. He's my dad, my papa. So I have 2 questions for you.
All right. What's the
Let's see if you
what are
can
the
answer
questions?
them.
What are the questions?
Question 1.
Mm-hmm.
What is your all-time favorite Transformer?
My all-time favorite Transformer is Perceptor.
Perceptor.
He's an old school OG Transformer, more into science, but later on he had to pick up the blaster and go get busy in the field sometimes too. But he's known more for the science, and I always like that. He turns into a
Microscope, and he can, in the war, he scanned the third mode, tank mode.
There it is.
Boom.
What about yours? Who's your all-time favorite?
For me, it would be all-time favorite, Shockwave.
Nice one.
I like Shockwave. He's cold.
Nice one.
He's emotionless. All he feels is logic. No emotion other than logic.
I like it. I like it.
Yes, Shockwave is superior.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next and final question of the day, since my mom is behind here. My mom is behind here.
Your lovely and talented and kind, balanced mother is behind here somewhere.
Yes. We like to harass her a lot. She loves trying to edit this out. But you won't edit this out, editor mother. Anyway, second question is, what is your most memorable show? Because we all know that you have been, not on tour a lot lately because of, well,
Yeah.
people haven't washed their hands apparently.
Right. The most memorable show. There have been a lot of memorable shows. Let me see what comes to mind right now. Top two would be how about Woodstock, Poland? We did a show in Poland where they did a Woodstock, which was a big festival back in the days. In upstate New York, Jimi Hendrix, all kind of people play. It was crazy. And then they did it again like some years later, but it's been going on in Poland for a long time. So It was a huge amount of people, the biggest show we've ever done, and it was a great time. We didn't expect it to. We didn't know what to expect actually because it was a rock and roll festival. It was the first time they were putting hip hop on the main stage, or maybe even at the festival at all. And they chose Dilated to come do it, so it was us in front of a couple 100,000 people, and it was pretty good time. And then the other one that comes to mind, since you're sitting right here, especially, is the only show that you got a chance to go see, which was when you and your mom came to the Shrine.
So cringy.
Shout out to your Auntie Dalen. Shout out to Oliver.
Auntie Dylan and Oliver. Hopefully be on a future episode.
But yeah, that was a good time because you got a chance to go check it out, and it was a good time. And it was in L.A.
Not for me.
I didn't have to get on an airplane to go do it. Just drive across town. It was fun.
Guys, if you didn't know what was happening, I was really young back then. I wasn't how I am now. I was like, what, 3, 4?
Something like that, yeah.
2, 3, 4.
No, you were probably like maybe 3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
I was
4.
crying.
There was a lot going on. It was, a couple thousand people, an outdoor festival.
First concert. I said that I didn't want to share my father with the world, but it was really just my ears.
Oh, little man.
My ears started hurting, but I didn't want to abandon my father without him knowing. Because he could take a break!
Well, I appreciate it. You gave me strength.
I'm patting him on the back if you didn't know. Virtual pat on the back.
Thanks, little man.
Well, Papa, thank you for coming here. I know you have a busy schedule because you barely have time to take care of a family, but trust me, he does. But thank you, and would you do the honors of, giving a little jazz to it, to the outro?
Jazz. That's right.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Shooby-doo. Yeah. And there it is, wrapping up our 1-year anniversary month with Grumpy Lumps. Rakaa Taylor, the best Papa Bear in the world. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the proper propaganda that was spewed in this episode. I just love that he was able to be with the supernatural bear, and that was a cute little exchange, even though, he was trying to redeem himself when he was sober. Too little, too late. No, it was a lot of laughs. So I hope you enjoyed that little rare window into Rakaa Taylor. If you're not knowing of their music, please check out all of the Dilated People's catalog on all streaming platforms. And Rakaa has one solo album, Crown of Thorns. It has the Doze Green artwork that Doze was so awesome to allow him to use for his cover. Check that out. And yeah, the little mans, they do harass me, and it's a pandemic, guys, and I'm here with them harassing me. So wear a mask, wash your hands, get the vaccine so that I can be out and about. Thank you so much for all the support over the past year. It's been amazing to hear the feedback and just to see how much you guys love it. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Tell your folks, tell your peeps, tell your friends. And as always, we reap. Word to Your Mama is owned and produced by Ritz P. The intro is produced by Nico Beats. If you want to get a hold of us and see other things, all there is to know, go to wordtoyourmama.com. And as always, Word to Your Mama is brought to you by ritzperiwinkle.com and panoplybpo.com.